Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
You are listening to the TrekRanks podcast, a member of the Tricorder Transmissions Podcast Network. This is episode 50, featuring the top 5 ships, part 1. Welcome, Star Trek fans. I am Jim Moorhouse, and I am the host of the TrekRanks podcast, and this is episode 50. We are pretty excited to reach that milestone. So for such a landmark number, we wanted to do something pretty special. So we've doubled down here tonight in a couple of ways. First, I always say this, what's better than a 2-part episode of Star Trek? Literally nothing is better than that. So first we decided to do a 2-part episode of TrekRanks to celebrate episode 50. So this is part 1, and we'll have part 2 in episode 51. And second, for the topic tonight, we decided to go with the 2 topics that we get asked about the most here from on Twitter or whoever's following us. It's the ones people have always said, hey, when are you going to do this topic? And I had this epiphany. They're the same topic. So tonight, we're doing our top 5 ships. And in part 2, we're doing our top 5 ships. So episode 50 is any of the great spaceships in Trek that you want to choose from. And then in episode 51, it's our top 5 ships. And that's apostrophe S ships, as in relationships that you wanted to see in Star Trek. It's the old slang ships. And maybe you did see these relationships. I don't know. You can pick whatever you want. Again, it's going to be interesting to hear what everyone's prime directives are for these 2 topics. So this is the second time we've done a 2-part episode of TrekRanks, and we think it's just a pretty great way to celebrate episode 50. And also, as part of our episode 50 celebration, we're going to run a pretty cool contest for all of our loyal listeners, so you can listen for that later in the show. So keep your ears open. We have an amazing prize package and pretty fun contest that literally anyone who listens to TrekRanks can win. So it's not just a random drawing. So stay plugged in for more details on that. And joining us tonight for such a special episode of TrekRanks is 2 regulars. First up, she's a podcasting legend from all over the podcast. Yes, you are. And she's, let's see, she's been on 3 episodes of TrekRanks. Our episodes you grew to love, episode 15, which is one of our most popular episodes. He was on episode 29, top 5 one-off romances, and episode 40, our top 5 scary episodes. Please welcome back returning champion Charlynn Schmiedt.
So good to be back. Thank you for having me on for the 50th. It is an honor, and I'm so excited.
Oh, I cannot wait to get rolling on this. And our other guest tonight is another experienced TrekRanks veteran, one of my favorite Star Trek Twitter follows. He keeps us up to speed on our ranks because he's ranking himself. It is Bill Mann. Bill, are you there?
I'm here, and I'm also, to echo Shar, honored to be here for episode 50. It's a huge feather in my cap. I mean, it's a big honor, and thank you very much for having me on.
Right. And it's a 2-parter, so we're going to
it's huge.
Be going a long way here. And Bill was on our 5-episode marathon for a Trek newcomer. That was episode 5. And then top 5 gory moments, top 5 Discovery Season 1 moments, and our top 5 Kelvin timeline moments. So lots of awesome topics and coverage from our guest tonight. So let's get into this with our quick TrekRanks recalibration.
What are you recalibrating?
Everything. It's a sweeping, a recalibration of all systems.
I would be fascinated to observe this recalibration, Doctor.
As regular listeners will know, general order number 1 here at the TrekRanks podcast is that we love Trek. We love to rank Trek via some deep dive topics just to get the conversation started. And as the Vulcan Master and a young, angry Tuvok like to remind us on most of our shows,
infinite diversity.
In infinite combinations.
Yep, our show is about all the reasons we love Star Trek. We're not here to nitpick or to argue. We're just going to celebrate the greatness of Trek. We love it all, from TOS to TNG, straight through to Enterprise and the Kelvin timeline, and now Discovery as well. It's all fair game here on the TrekRanks podcast.
Black alert. Black alert.
And a quick reminder that Discovery Season 1 and Season 2 spoilers, as well as Discovery short treks, are potentially in play for selection. And tonight's show is current through Season 2, Episode 4 of this awesome season of Star Trek Discovery. All right, and then our final reminder that we use episodes as our shorthand, but the 13 films are always in play as well.
Hailing frequencies are open.
And you can find TrekRanks on the interface links at TrekRanks.com. You can contact me directly on Twitter at TrekRanks or at Enterprise Extra. You can also call and leave us a message with your own picks at 609-512-LLAP. At 609-512-5527. And Charlynn and Bill, how about you guys? How can everyone get a hold of you on the Access interface? Char?
Well, you can get a hold of me on Twitter. My handle is the Profanity.
Bill, how about you?
You can find me on Twitter at TrekFan4387.
And you can also find these guys on their own awesome shows. Char is doing Punch It over at the Nerd Party. And Bill has his Trek Live on their live YouTube channel with our buddy Dan as well. So
nice.
Okay, so this week we're skipping the diagnostic cycle. We're jumping straight into our Prime Directives, which should be good.
I do not concur with your captain's decision.
She's following our Prime Directive.
Define Prime Directive.
This is such a hugely broad topic that I'm fascinated to hear how everyone decided to define this and kind of make their picks their own. So I mean, it's a pretty huge canvas, really, from which anyone can choose their favorite ships. There's so many ships in Star Trek. So Char, let's start with you. I'm dying to hear, what was your Prime Directive in defining your top 5 ships?
My process was twofold. I've got 2 criteria that help me decide on my list because there is such a vast array of stuff out there. I had to narrow it down. And so I thought, which ships are the most badass? And which ones would I want to serve on?
Oh, I love it. Badass and serving on. That is great.
And that defined my list. And it turned out almost entirely, unlike what I thought it was going to be quite honest.
Okay. I am very
Just
excited.
a little teaser there.
Very excited to hear that. All right, Bill, how about you? What about your Prime Directive?
Mine's a little more all over the place. It's a combination of all kinds of things. I'll be honest, I did give what would I like to serve on some thought for sure. And it definitely manifested itself towards the top of my list. Impact on the history of Trek kind of came into play, continuity-wise, and just on the making of the franchise and the different television shows. Just the impact on the lineage of the look of Star Trek came into play. But a lot of it was gut, honestly. I mean, there's so many to choose from, and there's so many different avenues you could take. You have the hero ships, and beyond the hero ships, there's all these different, ships that come and go and are big influence throughout all the shows that are easy go-tos, and then you have all these one-offs as well. So trying to balance everything and make the list uniquely mine, I guess.
Yeah, it sounds like you kept your canvas super broad. So
yeah, definitely broad.
And for my Prime Directive, I kept it really simple. Part of this is a little bit of a cheat on my part because I'm the host. I know that at some point in the future, we're going to do some other shows on ships, like maybe our top 5 alien ships or our top 5 22nd century ships, something. So what I did to get my arms around this is I only chose Starfleet or Federation ships. I also made it a rule that a designer of the ship could only appear once on my list. So I love these starship designers. I wanted to give a shout out to 5 different ones. And yeah, so a little bit of a cheat. So basically I've eliminated all the awesome alien ships that would have made this list completely impossible, but somehow Bill and Char still got it done. So I can't wait to hear your guys' list. So let's get third Ramadacon in here. It's time for the order of things.
I am a Jem'Hadar. He is a Vorta. It is the order of things.
All right, so let's get into our part 1 ship picks. And right now we're picking our top 5 ships, as in spaceships. And as always, to go through our picks in the order of things, we'll each begin with our original TrekRanks 5 words and a hashtag summary to tease our pick. Then we'll reveal our top 5 ships, and we'll each identify one episode that we think best defines that particular ship or showcased it in a cool way. And at the end, we'll rattle off a few secondary system selections for any picks that just missed our list. And as always, if we have any duplicates tonight, you'll know it when you hear the Defiant torpedoes. And if anyone picks the Defiant as a top 5 ship, maybe we'll fire them off for that too. Okay, Char, let's start with you. What's your number 5 pick for your top 5 ships?
Let's do this. Okay, so my pick is the Enterprise E, and specifically the first shot where we meet the Enterprise E in Star Trek First Contact. That is so satisfying. She is a beautiful ship.
So good.
She's different, but you know she's an Enterprise. I also really like the interior design of the ship, the look and the feel of it. I mean, especially the bridge layout and engineering. It has a little more of a timeless look and feel than, say, the D, which I'm sorry, does seem to be dating itself as the years go by. Don't get me wrong, I love the D. Please don't hate on me. But I like the E a little bit better.
Yeah, it's a really good point, not to harbor on the D, but I've always loved the D, but lately it wasn't even in consideration for me.
Ooh.
Fascinating.
There's so many other cool ships. It kind of, I don't want to say it's, I mean, you're not probably that wrong, Char, in terms of it being a little dated, but I still love it. I'm not saying I don't like it.
Right, I mean, how can you not love it?
I know, it's fantastic. The E, the first shot in First Contact, what a great start. I mean, you can't get any more iconic than that. I love that ship. I love this pick. And I wish we could have seen more of it. Bill, how about you on the
I know.
E?
I love the Enterprise E. I remember over like slow broadband dissecting the trailer, the first trailer for Star Trek First Contact, and freeze framing on that ship as often as I possibly could. Being so excited to see like what the new Enterprise was going to look like. And it lived up to every expectation I could have possibly had. Like Char said, it's undeniably an Enterprise. I think it melds like the Enterprise D and like Constitution class kind of really in a cool way. And I love the interiors, like you said too, Char. I love the color scheme of the sets. And I think the bridge has this really cinematic look. It's more horizontal, kind of like the Voyager is, which really plays well in the movie, the wider aspect ratio. So yeah, that's a great pick. I think the Enterprise E is a beautiful ship.
All right, so I have my 5 words.
Oh, hit it.
Prepare to evacuate the Enterprise, because this poor ship was such a short-lived ship. It seemed like they were either evacuating or it was going to be destroyed.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so the poor thing. Hashtag quantum torpedoes. Salute to First Contact.
Awesome start. We have our first Enterprise pick. We'll see how many Enterprises make this list. So, Bill, how about you? What's your number 5 pick?
My 5 words and a hashtag, in this case, is actually 5 numbers, and it's 16309, hashtag prefix code, and it is the USS Reliant.
The Reliant.
Nice.
Yes. For a couple of different reasons. If memory serves, and if I'm not incorrect with my facts here, if you take away the animated series, the Reliant is the first time that you see a Federation ship outside of the original Constitution class from TOS and the motion picture.
Okay, mind blown right now. That sounds right. Was there any in TMP?
It does sound right.
I don't think you see anything in.
I mean, there's like no, because those like the Antares and those were like trader ships. So,
and even that, like that's a lot of that. I think
a lot of that was. I know there was some of them you saw, but I know some were added in
remastered.
Yeah, so I do conflate some of that, but. Okay, I'm going with this. I love it. That is a great call out.
And on top of just the kind of establishing the lineage of what Starfleet ships are going to look like and how similar they're going to look and what the visual language of Starfleet ship design was going to be moving forward, I think the Reliant's kind of scary in the Wrath of Khan. It's lean, it's mean, it's aggressive looking. That upper thing, whatever you want to call that, that's like a bridge over the saucer section with phasers coming out of it. It just looks tactical and aggressive, and it looks like a threat to the Enterprise. So for the isolated reason of how it functions within Star Trek II, and because it has such an impact on establishing what Starfleet ships are going to look like for the next 45 years, I'm pretty comfortable putting this in here.
It's that's a fantastic pick. I mean, what else can you say? And your Prime Directive of prominence and legacy. I mean, doesn't get any more prominent than being the ship of note in The Wrath of Khan.
No kidding.
That is awesome. Char, any quick comments on it?
Good pick. Love it. I thought about it myself, but I did not go there. I guess because my Prime Directive was a little different. However, it does meet the badass category. It is an aggressive ship, and it's perfect for Star Trek II as a movie. It was a nemesis. I mean, it almost killed off the Enterprise and blew it up many times over. What really saved it was Kirk's ingenuity to keep them buying time, but very good pick.
All right, great pick. Let's jump into my round 5 pick. My 5 words in a hashtag: initiate multi-vector assault mode, hashtag Prometheus class, and it's the USS Prometheus from Star Trek Voyager, Message in a Bottle, a top 10 episode over at TrekRanks. I love this ship, and I know everybody else does too. I could not pick it. It's just so cool. It's just all about science fiction when you look at this ship. It was just amazing what they did with it at the time in the 90s and the budget they were on to introduce a ship like that for an episode like that. Love it. This is a Rick Sternbach design. We love Rick Sternbach. He did the Voyager and the Intrepid class as well. And of course, I picked Message in a Bottle. It appeared in like 3 episodes. It was actually an Endgame as well. And then it was in Enterprise Azadi Prime when Archer flashed forward to when Daniels brought him into the future. So you can they referenced it there quickly. So yeah, I love this ship. It's amazing episode. And what's cooler than the multi-vector assault mode? Nothing. Bill, what's your take on this one?
I think it's great. I think that multi-vector assault mode is really, really cool. I think there's really neat set decoration, production design on that ship. I think the bridge is really cool and kind of memorable, like the white color scheme and really big bridge. Yeah, and it's memorably different. It really sticks out as like a cool step forward for what starships can do, and feels like a step into the future. You know, being on, I guess it was on when Deep Space Nine was still on, which but it feels like a move forward for what Starfleet vessels can do.
And it's a great point. It actually connects pretty well to the Enterprise E too, in terms of the sleekness of it.
The sleekness, yeah.
Yeah.
Char, how about you? I know you love your Voyager.
You darn right I do. This is an honorable mention, and I got to just echo everything that you guys have said. It was forward thinking. It had ingenuity. It was cool. It was fun to watch.
Yeah, it's just cool.
Yeah, it's just cool. It's a lot of fun.
That's pretty much the reason I picked it, because it's just a cool starship in a science fiction TV show.
Right. I would have been surprised if it had not made somebody's list.
I think that's right. Nothing deeper than that. Okay, let's go to round 4. Char, what's your number 4 pick?
Okay. 5 words were things that I actually said aloud the very first time I said this or saw this ship, and that was actually a part of me defining my criteria for my list, and that is, this thing is so badass. And it's hashtag red matter. It's Spock's jellyfish ship.
Oh, yes.
Cool.
What a great pick. So unique.
I said that in the theater when I went to go see it with my dad. We just kind of looked at each other like, wow, this is cool. And I said, yeah, this is so badass. So what I like about this ship is that it's unique in its design, perfect for 1, maybe 2 people, and gets around quickly. I mean, it's sort of like a little bit of a shuttle hot rod, if you will.
Yes.
And so, I mean, come on. What can you not love about that?
Oh, my God. I love this pick. You know what my favorite thing about this ship is and I don't remember if I noticed this myself or if I just read about it later. And I don't even know if they meant to do it. But, you know, when you sit in the chair, the captain's chair, and it turns around, and it's obviously a Vulcan. It's Spock's ship. I'm not 100% sure if it's Vulcan or not. But it looks like an IDIC, an IDIC.
Yeah.
The way the triangle and the circle, it's amazing. It looks like an IDIC just sitting there the way it's framed. And I love that. It's just so cool. Love this ship. Bill, how about you?
I was going to point that out too. I love the IDIC symbol that the ship makes when the chair turns around. I think it's awesome. It's different. I love the way it moves. I love the sound effect of it moving around. Like I can hear it in my head right now thinking about it.
Yes.
It's really cool. It leaves a big impact. And even the interior of it's cool. I love the scene in the movie with Zachary Quinto and Chris Pine. And Zachary Quinto giving odds for survival. Feels very classic TOS. It feels like Star Trek's coming together and like everything's kind of falling into place. So I have good memories of that ship. Feels good to think about it, and it's a great pick.
Thanks.
Yeah, you could not say it any better. That scene with those two felt like Star Trek coming together. Great way to summarize. All right, Bill, how about you? What's your number 4 pick?
My number 4 pick, my 5 words and a hashtag. I have iconic and always chill-inducing, and my hashtag is D7 or Katinga, and it's the Klingon battlecruiser.
All right.
Nice.
This is my one alien submission.
Okay.
And it is the reason I say it's always chill-inducing is I remember different points later on, like much later in Star Trek. I remember getting chills when it showed up in like a random episode like Voyage of Prophecy and Unexpected and Enterprise, and even a couple weeks ago in Point of Light. Like when you see that ship, it's so classic Star Trek. It has roots all the way back to TOS. And the episode or movie that I would cite is like the reason I picked it is the motion picture. I think the opening scene in the motion picture with the 3 Klingon battlecruisers is like as iconic as it gets, and is as undisputably like cool Star Trek as you can possibly get. So it has these moments of bigness through Star Trek's history, and it's always cool to see it again. And I love the scene in Point of Light when they're talking about it being like the thing that's going to unify the houses and be this big project that's going to symbolize the houses coming together. Like that just makes it even cooler retroactively.
I'm adding this pick to my top 5 chill-inducing moments because I got chills thinking about it. So great.
That's good stuff.
Oh, it's so good, and such a great pick for the motion picture because that is so iconic when you see those 3 at the beginning. That was, as I was 12 years old and could not believe it, and the music being so original and unique, just an incredible starship design and iconic in Trek history. Love it. Char, what's your take on the D7?
Man, I can't do any better than that. It's a great pick. It's a great ship, great reference. You're absolutely right. That kind of makes the intro to the motion picture like, yes, we are in the movie verse.
Yes.
It's good stuff. And I do love the connection now to Discovery. We just saw that episode, a couple weeks ago? And I just thought, cool. So this is how this thing came to be. That was great retconning.
Yeah, that was really incredible. I love that moment in Point of Light. All right, let's go to my round 4 pick. And my 5 words and a hashtag sets the tone for Discovery, hashtag Walker class. And it's the NCC 1227, the USS Shenzhou.
Yeah.
And I love this ship. I picked the Vulcan Hello from where it was debuted because that was amazing seeing this ship in action. I feel like this is the pinnacle of design for Discovery so far. It's just incredibly beautiful ship. And it really, you talked about the connection of some of these ships in Trek. This one for me connects everything of Trek. It fits the Kelvin timeline designs. It fits 24th century, 22nd century. I just feel like it's a perfect design for what it was asked to do in Discovery. And every time it shows up, I just feel complete joy when it showed up in the Mirror Universe. I was like, yes, I love seeing this shit. It was designed by John Eaves, who is probably the most legendary of Trek designers, certainly the most proficient. So love this ship. Char, what's your take on the Shenzhou?
Love it. Very good pick. It did not make my list, but you got me thinking now that when we were just watching or starting to watch Discovery, I like the Shenzhou better than the Discovery in terms of its design. I liked it better. So, yeah.
That's that happens sometimes.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love the Discovery. It's cool, the spore drive and whatnot. It's pretty awesome. But Yeah, the Shinzo, it's just pretty. It's very nicely balanced.
I mean, it's top 4 on my list, so obviously it's an epic ship in terms of that. Bill, how about you on the Shinzo?
I think it's a great pick. I agree with Shar. I think I don't know if I still feel this way, but I remember early in the first few weeks of Discovery feeling like I think I kind of prefer the Shenzhou. I think it's a cooler design. I love how like rugged it feels and worn in, and I love the fact that we kind of jump into like Burnham's 7th year on the ship, so it kind of implies that there's been this entire Star Trek series that we haven't seen that we're kind of jumping in at the end of that has happened with this crew together on this ship. I think the production design of the set interiors kind of illustrate that pretty well, that the ship's been out there doing this for a while. It feels worn, but undeniably cool at the same time. So I think it's a great pick.
Great point. Okay, let's move into the soup round. Shar, what's your number 3 pick?
Okay. 5 words and a hashtag are tough little ship, snort, little, hashtag RIP, it's the USS Defiant. So that's right. Fire away, baby.
Hey, we're going to fire up anytime someone picks the Defiant, whether it's a duplicate or not. We love that pick. Shar, go.
Yeah, I mean, this is the little ship that could. It maybe didn't have the greatest start. I mean, it was shelved for a little while as a project, and it was a little shaky, but eventually it proved its worth because Ben Sisko resurrected his little project, and it might have not fought the Borg full-time like it was intended, but it served with honor against the Dominion. And I loved how this kind of just, for me anyway, it seemed to come out of nowhere for DS9. I was never expecting a ship on this show. And in the same way that the mobile emitter changed a life for the Doctor as he knew it, giving the DS9 crew a ship, it wasn't a Deus Ex Machina. Like, it only enriched the show. It only added to the stuff that was already going well for it. And so I like that it's a smaller ship. I think that ships could or should come in a variety of shapes and sizes, and the Defiant only reinforces that point, where you've got a ship like the Defiant fighting alongside a Galaxy class. That's good. They both have different capabilities, and you need that when you're fighting a really bad enemy.
Oh, that is such a great summary. I love this ship. I knew it would be on somebody's list. What episode did you pick, Shar?
I picked The Search because that's where the Defiant was introduced.
Love it. I love it. It's such a great pick. One of my favorite things about the Defiant is the way it was designed, the way they say it has so much power, but it's at an expense because like it's got faults where they can't push it too far, or it's like a little too much power, which is why they're not
right.
1,000 Defiants flying around.
Fly her apart then.
Yeah. Has issues containing that power. I love that.
Also, some design flaws cropped up during the ship's shakedown cruise, so Starfleet decided to abandon the project.
What sort of design flaws?
You'll have complete access to the ship evaluation reports, but to put it simply, it's overgunned and overpowered for a ship its size. During battle drills, it nearly tore itself apart when the engines were tested at full capacity.
Bill, what's your take on the Defiant?
You took the words right out of my mouth again. The first thing that popped into my mind thinking about the Defiant is that scene in The Search when Sisko's briefing the crew and telling O'Brien that the ship has too much power and it's got to be reeled in. And I love that about the ship. I love that it's not perfect and it's still kind of a prototype and it feels organic. The reason that the station gets the ship, it comes at the right time with this newfound threat in the Gamma Quadrant with the Jem'Hadar and the Dominion. So it feels like Shar said, not a doctored reason to kind of like just breathe new life into the show. It feels natural in the course of the storyline, and it at the same time that it feels natural and organic within the storyline, it does kind of breathe new life into the show, and it gives the characters new things to do and new adventures to go on. And some of Deep Space Nine's best episodes, I think, feature the Defiant heavily, where they're off the station and out there doing cool things. Things like Children of Time come to mind, and Starship Down comes to mind. So yeah.
No, that's a great summary. It was a perfect addition to a perfect show. Love it. Bill, what's your soup round 3 pick?
5 words and a hashtag inaugurates an era of peace. Hashtag repurposed nuclear missile, and it is the Phoenix.
Yes!
Well done, sir. Oh, I wish this would have gone on my list.
Pretty sure that was my toughest cut. I love the Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about lineage and like I said, that kind of factored into my decision. It's the first ship. It inaugurates an era of peace, as quoted in the movie. That sequence in First Contact, the launch, and what comes after the launch is, if we were doing top 5 scenes in Star Trek history, that would factor into that list very highly. That entire sequence in that movie. So I think it's got historical implications within the canon of the show, the continuity of the show, the franchise, and I think it makes perfect sense that it's a repurposed nuclear missile after the fallout of World War III. And I love that you can clearly see that in the design of the ship. They didn't get too cute or creative with designing it. It's a missile with warp nacelles attached to it. And yeah, I love the Phoenix.
Yeah, I love the Phoenix as well. That's another John Eves design. It's one of my favorites, and it was in my secondary systems for all those reasons that you just said. And it just, that surprise when the nacelles came out in the First Contact. It's one of those things you kind of sometimes take for granted, but I always try to put myself back in that first moment, the first time you saw that, not knowing that was coming. So cool.
Yeah, it knocks you out.
Char, any quick comments on the Phoenix?
Just that I really wish I would have thought about this to put on my list, because I love the Phoenix. I adore the fact that this is what was an instrument of war converted into what is ultimately an ushering of peace into the future that we want and love, and ultimately becomes the Star Trek universe. And oh my gosh, the first thing that comes to mind, though, is the nacelles when they fold out. That's just so cool. Yeah. It takes my breath away. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it really, really is. All right, well, let's close out the soup round with my number 3 pick. And my 5 words in a hashtag: we need something with teeth. Hashtag engage cloak. It's the Defiant. We just talked about it. I love this ship. I love everything about it. My episode I picked was Starship Down, which Bill just referenced. There's so many great episodes that this ship features. I love One Little Ship, and obviously Changing Face of Evil when it gets destroyed. But not too much else to add. We love the cloak. We love those torpedoes. This ship was designed by Jim Martin, who's not a name you hear as much as the Drexlers and John Eves and Matt Jeffries of the world. But great job, Jim, because this ship is awesome. All right, any last thoughts from anybody on the Defiant?
Nope, just that it rules.
Yeah, it's great pick.
It does. It truly does. All right, so let's move on to round 2 and Char's number 2 pick. What do you got, Char?
Okay, my 5 words are: one for the history books. Hashtag Tasha, you're supposed to be dead. It's the Enterprise C, as we saw in yesterday's Enterprise.
Ambassador class for the win.
Yeah, baby.
Fantastic pick, Char.
I love this ship. It might even be my favorite Enterprise.
Wow, so impressed.
Okay, I'm going to put that out there. I mean, I've been in love with this ship from the moment I locked eyes on it, from the very first time I saw yesterday's Enterprise. It's this perfect bridge between the Excelsior class and the Galaxy class. I always wanted to know more about the adventures of Captain Garrett and her crew, and yesterday's Enterprise is such a memorable episode, especially with the Enterprise C, how it ultimately does go down in a fight, its place in history. How can you not love it?
This is such a great pick, and I am ashamed that I didn't think of this one not come up. I would pick this just because how much I love Rachel Garrett. I mean, what a
great
hell
character.
Yeah. Before Captain Janeway, we had Captain Garrett.
She is so cool. And you are so right. I was in love with this ship right from the get-go, too. It's that episode for me. I love that episode. It's top 10 in TNG.
She's just this perfect bridge.
It really is. It really is. It's such a cool design. This looked great. And I always just wanted to see more of it. So I love the Enterprise C. Bill, what's your take?
I love yesterday's Enterprise. I love the Enterprise C. I couldn't agree more that it makes perfect sense as a bridge. Like it's a completely natural conclusion that it fits somewhere between Excelsior and Galaxy class. I love Rachel Garrett, like Jim said. So this is a great pick from a classic episode. That's an all-time great.
Long live the sea. Long live Rachel Garrett. Fantastic pick. Super excited that got picked. All right, Bill, what's your round 2 pick?
Round 2 pick, 5 words and a hashtag, perfectly establishes the ground rules, and hashtag classic, and it is NCC 1701, the classic TOS Enterprise.
The OG Enterprise, yeah.
Had to be here.
Had to be here.
Right.
I would 100% be Dax in Trials and Tribulations running around that ship, talking about black with silver highlights. Like, that just makes me happy. And I didn't grow up. I'm younger than TOS. I didn't grow up with TOS being the only thing or anything, but it factors large in my childhood watching that show over and over and over again. Like, I didn't grow up when it was coming out regularly. I came up in the TNG age, but I watched a great deal of it and as a very young person. So I feel like I'm at home watching that show. I feel like I know the ins and outs of the ship, and I'd be very comfortable walking around it. I love the retro design. Is it dated? Sure, of course it's dated. It feels like a 60s.
No, it's not. It's perfect
show, but at the same time, it's not. Watch anything else that was made in those years in the 1960s, and find me something that holds up as well as the sets of the USS Enterprise. Exactly. It's just not. You're not going to do it. It's not going to happen. So everything about it, I think, holds up for me on a personal level, and it certainly established the ground rules. Everything that you ever see as far as Federation design is taking something from that design by Matt Jeffries. So I couldn't in good conscience do a list like this where this is not one or two. The episode I chose was Balance of Terror. I think you can pick a whole bunch, but the Enterprise is very much in action during Balance of Terror. You know, it's battle scenes, and I think the bridge is really cool. I think it's lit really cool in that episode during the battle sequences. I think there's subtle differences in the cinematography that I notice every time I watch that episode. It's a little more serious, a little darker, a little meaner during those battle sequences. The ship feels alive. You see a lot of it. There's the weapons room, like the phaser control room. And I love Balance of Terror. And it's the first episode that comes to mind when I think of the Enterprise.
You can't summarize it any better than that. I love that you picked Balance of Terror. That is a great pick. And you're right. You see so much of this ship. It feels like, it's like you said, it feels like home.
It's got a bowling alley.
I know so well. I love it. Great pick. Shar, what's your take on the OG Enterprise?
How can you go wrong with the classic? I mean, this ship, without it, we have nothing. And so it more than deserves to be, not just on this list, it deserves to be somebody's number one. I hope somebody picked it. I'm not going to say if I did or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Enterprise, it does feel like home. I like that phrase. That's great.
And I like your phrase that without this, we have nothing. I mean, that is the truth. I'm going to cry. Okay. I love it. Let's go to my number 2 pick to close out the second round. And my 5 words and a hashtag, perfect precursor to original series, hashtag Warp 5 engine. It is the NX-01 Enterprise from Star Trek Enterprise. So we have an all Enterprise round here in round 2. I love this. My episode that I picked was Broken Bow, the launch of this beautiful ship. I love this ship. It's aesthetic, inside, out. For me, it's the perfect connection to TOS right from the get-go for Enterprise. And I got to say, short rant, it always drives me a little crazy when I hear from those people who thought it was too advanced, or it took me 10 years to come around on it, or it was too much like the Akira. That stuff drives me crazy. This ship was perfect out of the box. I will not hear otherwise. It's the perfect connection to the original series Enterprise. I love it. This one is a Doug Drexler design from the beginning of Enterprise. And then, of course, Herman Zimmerman, well known and deserves all the credit for the awesome interior design as well. So love this ship. Bill, what's your take on the NX-01?
You know me, I love Enterprise. So I'm thrilled that it made a list. It might be my least favorite take about Star Trek is that the NX-01 is too close to the Akira. Like, come on, guys, it's not that hard. The Akira is clearly a homage to the NX-01, to the NX class. Why is it so hard? Like, it's just
right.
Why is that a criticism? It's just
ridiculous. It's not.
I'm so on board with that.
I love the design of it. I love the submarine look. I love the way that the interiors of that ship kind of evolve over the seasons. I love the way it looks in season 4, how much more alive, like 4 years in, that ship kind of looks with a little more color. But even early on, I love the blacks and blues and silvers, kind of reminiscent of how the bridge looks in the cage with that dark kind of look.
Yeah.
I love everything about the NX-01, even the decon chamber.
Same. Shar, how about you?
I mean, the decon chamber was a necessary evil, I guess. I'm not sure how I feel about that. But the design of the ship itself, yeah, it's cool. I love the submarine feel. It's not nearly as quite of a homey feel as the later ships, and that's what it needed to be. It is utilitarian. Everything is there because it needs to be there. And some of it is bulky and just maybe not the prettiest thing, and that's what's great about it.
Yeah, it's really perfect, and you're right. It's bulky in the right places. It's clean in the right places. I love this ship, and I don't understand how someone could criticize it by saying it looks like the Akira. That makes no sense. Okay, let's go to round 1. Shar, what's your top pick for your top 5 ships?
Okay, 5 words are bioneural gel packs and all, hashtag 70,000 light years. Yes, this is no surprise. It's the USS Voyager, and the episode I'm going to particularly mention is Caretaker because she gets a beautiful send-off.
No surprise at all. I'm so glad. I knew you were going to pick Voyager. I love it.
This is another little ship that could. And like the cast, I fell in love with this ship instantly. I love the look of this bridge. It is timeless with its color palette, with the silvers and the blues. And I love the fact that it's a science vessel. I mean, it's got the experimental bioneural gel packs that's perfect to put on a science vessel, even if there were some problems with cheese. I mean, some new ideas work, others don't. You don't know till you try sometimes. And this ship was certainly not built with the intent of possibly enduring a 70-year mission home, but she was one hell of a trooper. And she can land on those little nacelles. I mean, landing was always kind of a cool feature when they did it. And just this little ship, she's amazing. She withstood so much and managed to get through, and I feel like she is a character of the show.
Totally agree. I think I love that you said that because I was going to make that point. I think unlike any other show, the Voyager is more like a character than it's really a character. It's an amazing ship. I love the design. Rick Sternbach. It's fantastic. It's super underrated. I'm excited it's your number 1. I probably could have predicted that.
Everybody predicted that. Sorry to be predictable, but hey.
We don't care. We just love the picks. I love this ship. It's totally underrated. And Bill, what's your take on Voyager?
I love the Voyager. I love Voyager as a show. I love the ship. I love the instinct that they had to not go bigger after the Enterprise D, to go smaller and more compact and a little bit more tactical. I love the bridge, that more, like I kind of talked about with the Enterprise D when you pick that horizontal look, long. I love that different take instead of it being like a sphere like we're kind of used to. That style I think really holds up pretty well. I always think about the quarters, like the crew quarters. I love like the purple light in Tuvok's quarters that's coming by the window. Like just like it's soothing. It feels homey, and that ship needs to feel homey because it's as much a caretaker as Janeway is for the crew. Like it is a character.
Yeah, it is home.
Yeah, it's a great pick, and I don't have it on my list, but knowing who I was doing this with, Char, I had a pretty good feeling that Voyager would at least appear somewhere pretty high up. So it didn't make it up for me, but it's an obvious like great choice and belongs on any list of the best ships.
For sure. And I will say that it was definitely on my secondary systems. I was definitely considering picking it. And yeah, great point. This one really is home. That is a great comment. All right. These lists are fantastic. Bill, let's hear your number 1 pick.
5 words in a hashtag perfectly balances lineage with freshness. Hashtag impeccable 80s design. It's the Enterprise D, contrary to what I think you guys might feel about it.
Oh my God, no.
No, that's great.
So happy. I love the Enterprise D. Do not get me wrong. I love it. And
yeah, for real.
There are times when I kind of get trapped in that. Yeah, it's not really maybe as cool as these other ones that I like. But man, when it came out, I loved it. All right, Bill, sorry. Go. What's your reason and what's your episode?
For my episode, it's Encounter at Farpoint because it just does so much stuff. It separates. You see the ship is so big. There's so many sets. There's so much introduced. But as a person who was born in 1987 and grew up with this on in the background from my infancy, when I daydream or dream about Star Trek, I dream about being on the Enterprise D. Like that's home for me. I want to have drinks in 10 Forward. I want to go look around at all these like cool little trees around the corridors and stuff. Like it's so homey. I don't object to the idea of it being like the Radisson in space. It makes sense that it's the Radisson in space because it's out there on a continuing mission. People live there. It's as much it's designed to be a home for people. People are going to be out there for years. So I really respond to that. I love the carpeting. I love everything about it. It just undeniably feels home for me. It's when I think about wanting to be in Star Trek, it's on the Enterprise D. So it's a personal choice. It's a personal thing. I get it feels 80s and it's starting to feel a little dated compared to some of the new stuff that's around and maybe some of the choices that things like Voyager made and even the Defiant made that might hold up a little bit better over time. But it's a personal thing, I guess.
Bill, I take back everything I said. I love this.
Yeah, I feel bad now.
I love this. You're so right. It was when this ship began. If you're someone who was there in '87 and saw it launched, it was incredible. It was so cool. I wanted nothing else than to have this ship in my possession and on my wall. It's so great. And like you said, for you, when you dream of being on Enterprise, it's the D, and that is so cool. I love it, and I've never agreed with the hotel and space criticism. It's just it's just so lame. I love that design.
Me too.
Shar, what's your take on the Enterprise D?
Don't get me wrong. I adore this ship, and I feel bad about what I said earlier. Now, I meant it, but I still feel bad. Because in its day, watching this show when it aired, yeah, the Enterprise D was freaking cool, man. You did want to be on this ship. Abso-fraggin-lutely. Thinking to encounter at Farpoint when we watched Saucer Separation for the very first time. Come on. How cool was that?
So great.
It's still cool.
It is. It's so cool. And yeah, I mean, maybe the carpet hasn't held up over time, but I mean, really, if you're a Starfleet officer and you've got a family and you have the option to serve on the Enterprise, heck yeah, you're going to go on the Enterprise. You're getting, for one thing, probably bigger quarters than any other ship out there. But then this is just the most beautiful and best ship you could possibly be on. Yeah, of course you're going to be on the Enterprise.
It all holds up. Fantastic pick.
Well, it's a new ship. She's got the right name. Now, you remember that, you hear?
I will, sir.
You treat her like a lady. And she'll always bring you home.
All right, let's close out round one in our top 5 ships. My 5 words in a hashtag. Speaking of home, actually. She'll always bring you home. Hashtag Blue J4. It is the original TOS Enterprise. 1701. I could choose nothing but. I love this ship. It's like Bill, you kind of just said, this ship is the ship of my childhood and my life, and I love everything about it. I chose Tomorrow Is Yesterday just because there were so many things you could choose, but I love that shot of this ship in the clouds over Earth. And I also love the excitement that when you talked about Dax walking around the ship, I love the thought of John Christopher, who they bring on board from the fighter jet. That was the hashtag. That's his call sign, hashtag Blue J4. And I love just the excitement. Can you imagine being in that scenario where all of a sudden you're walking around on this ship after being on a fighter jet? I love that. I love everything about this design. Of course, it's Matt Jeffries, the legend. And as Shar said earlier, without this ship, we wouldn't have anything. So that's going to be my new mantra. I love it. All right, guys, any other thoughts on... Oh, and one more thing. Any other quick thoughts on the original Enterprise, guys?
I love your 5 words. I just want to say that.
Yes, McCoy at the end of Encounter at Farpoint Part 1. She'll always bring you home.
I love the episode choice. I didn't think it's Tomorrow's Yesterday, but that's a perfect lens to kind of look at the coolness of that ship through. I love that you picked that episode. And yeah, I don't really have anything else to add because I had it high on my list.
Risk is our business. That's what the Starship is all about. That's why we're aboard her.
Okay.
You guys both picked great episodes that showcase the original Enterprise.
Likewise. Oh, yeah. Well, your list was awesome, too. I can't wait to go through the stats. We got some great ones. Before we do that, let's hit some secondary systems picks. Shar, anything on your list that you want to highlight quickly?
Yeah, I got stuff. All right, so the TNG era Romulan warbirds, none in particular. I just like the design.
Oh, so good. That will be on the top 5 alien ships when we do it.
It's good stuff. Yeah, I love them. Also, the Bajoran lightship from the episode Explorers.
Oh, that's on mine.
Super cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks a little insecty, but it's so cool just that it's a little light solar sail. That's a great concept. I think it was so cool that Jake and Ben were out there just together doing that and running the ship, and just so cool. Next up, the USS Excelsior, as captained by Captain Hikaru Sulu, not the other guy.
Yeah.
I had the Prometheus, mentioned that earlier, and Krug's Klingon warbird in Star Trek 3, also in Star Trek 4 under captained by Admiral Kirk. Oh my God, say that 10 times fast. Which ultimately traveled through time, saved the whales, and saved the Earth.
Oh, I love that pick, and
Yes, rename the USS Bounty.
So clever. I love those secondary picks. So many great ships. Bill, how about you?
A lot of the ones you guys picked, the Voyager was probably my hardest cut. I wanted to have that in there so bad. I wanted to pick Deadlock as my episode for Voyager, having 2 of them and having it get crap beaten out of it and making me realize how much I love that ship and that crew. Watching like that was painful to cut. I love the Shenzhou. I thought that pick was great. And my maybe embarrassing admission is that I kind of really love the Vengeance from Star Trek Into Darkness. So
cool.
I toyed with that.
Okay.
I love that. That's super cool. It's a great looking ship.
Yeah.
All right. So my secondary systems, I mentioned the Phoenix before. The Phoenix was my special shout out. I was going to make sure we highlight that one because I love that design. And you picked it, Bill. So that's fantastic. My toughest cut was the USS Franklin from Star Trek Beyond. I adore this ship. I adore what it means in Star Trek history and lore. It's just cool. It's just a really, really cool ship.
Great pick.
And then I had the Voyager as well. And then I had 2 others, the USS Kelvin, so another Kelvin ship.
Nice.
And that's just a cool design and look. And then this one, I know we're all going to agree on. It's just an awesome, awesome ship. Or shuttle. It's the Delta Flyer.
Oh my God.
I love the Delta Flyer.
How did I not think of this? Oh my God. I want to change everything. Wait a minute.
I had a feeling that might be your reaction, but
oh my God. I am kicking myself literally right now.
Do not kick yourself because your list was awesome.
Oh, my skull.
All right, let's head in for a little shore leave and go back to Space Dock for our
for some rehab.
Computer, activate regeneration cycle. Alcoves beta and gamma.
Okay, so let's recap our picks. Shar, run down your list again. Top 5 ships.
Okay, so number 5 was the Enterprise E. Number 4, Spock's Jellyfish from Star Trek 09. Number 3, the USS Defiant. Number 2, the Enterprise C. And number 1, the USS Voyager.
I love this list. So you had 2 Enterprise picks and another, and actually you had 4 hero ships. We're going to keep that stat. So you had the Enterprise E, Defiant, and 3 hero ships with the Voyager. So from shows. So you had also 2 from TNG, 1 from Voyager, Deep Space Nine, and the Kelvin timeline. Bill, how about you? Recap your 5.
I had the Reliant / the Miranda class from Star Trek to the Wrath of Khan and many other things. The Klingon battlecruiser from, I cited the motion picture. The Phoenix from First Contact is my number 3. My number 2 is the classic NCC 1701 and NCC 1701D, the Enterprise D from The Next Generation, is my number 1.
Fantastic. I just realized you had your first 3 picks from movies, which is super cool. Mm-hmm. So you had 3 from TOS, 1 and 2 from TNG. So you were really going old school with your list. That's fantastic. You had 2 Enterprises as well. So that is great. I'm looking at my list. I had 2 Enterprises as well. So my list, my top 5, the USS Prometheus from Voyager and Message in a Bottle. I had the USS Shenzhou at number 4 from Star Trek Discovery, The Vulcan Hello. For number 3, I had the Defiant from Deep Space Nine, episode Starship Mine. My number 2 pick was the NX-01 from Star Trek Enterprise, Broken Bow. And my number 1 pick from Star Trek, the original series, the original NCC 1701 Enterprise. My episode was Tomorrow is Yesterday. So I had 2 Enterprises and 1 each from TOS, Enterprise, Deep Space Nine, Discovery, and Voyager. I really spread it around. Didn't even realize I did that. So I had 5 different shows represented there. The statistics, we got a lot of stats here. So first off, every single incarnation of Trek was represented here. I love that. I'm going to go straight through them. We had 1 from the Kelvin timeline, 1 from Discovery, 1 from Enterprise, 2 each from Voyager and Deep Space Nine, and 4 each from the original series and the Next Generation. That is super cool to have it all spread around. We had 8 hero ships picked, and that is, of course, the star of the show from a series or film. We had 6 Enterprise picks and only 2 alien ships. I'm going to count the Jellyfish as an alien ship, as well as, of course, the D7 Klingon battlecruiser. So love these lists. Fantastic job, guys. We're going to probably have some more breakdowns in part 2 of this special crisscross topic with our top 5 ships when we do episode 51. And again, for everyone not paying attention, episode 51 is going to be our top 5 ships, as in relationships, that we wanted to see on Trek. Can't wait for that, but you're going to have to wait just a little bit, not too long. Part 2 will be here before you know it. Okay, so before we run, just going to do a quick detour into our special temporal causality loop to close out this show.
The Enterprise has been caught up in a temporal causality loop, and I suspect that something similar may have happened to you.
So I mentioned at the top of the show that we're running a special contest to celebrate episode 50 of TrekRanks, and what better place to do that than here in the temporal causality loop. So first, let me run through the prize package of what we're doing, and it's pretty solid. We got a lot of stuff to give away. So one big grand prize winner will take home. Here's a quick rundown. Fantastic Starfleet Academy Letterman's jacket, size extra large. So hopefully you got someone that will fit. A model from the Eagle Moss Starship Collection, the Argo shuttle from Star Trek Nemesis. We've also got the awesome Star Trek Origins Blu-ray release with a handful of episodes on it from the original series. We've got a Mirror Universe Tribble, a Starship Enterprise bottle opener, a Mego Sulu action figure. That one's not in the box, but it's basically brand new. An awesome set of Star Trek glassware, a Star Trek t-shirt, size large. We've got one of those really nice Discovery Command badges with the magnetic clasp from QMX. And if all that wasn't enough, the awesome guys over at Fansets heard we were doing this sweepstakes and volunteered a prize package of some great Fanset pins. So we'll include those as well, including Stamets, Colbert, Laurel, and lots more. So it's a great package, and your chances of winning are pretty good. So here's how we're gonna do this. So we've never really done anything like this before, and listen, let me be clear. I don't do this show for clicks or likes or prominence or anything like that. I think that's pretty clear. It's just kind of a DIY love affair with Trek, because as you know, I love talking about Star Trek. But everyone keeps telling me that I should be pushing people to leave reviews and whatnot because it helps people find the show. So I decided this one time I'm going to ask everyone that wants to enter the sweepstakes to do that as part of the contest. So here are the 3 steps to enter the 50 episodes TrekRanks sweepstakes. Okay, first, go somewhere and leave us a review about how you feel about the show. iTunes or whatever podcast service you use to listen to the show. Leave us a review, but also as part of that review, I want you to leave us your top 5 favorite TrekRanks topics through 50 episodes. Because this is TrekRanks. That's what I want to hear about. I care more about that than your love or hate of the show. But of course, you can leave that too. But yeah, so leave us your top 5 favorite TrekRanks topics wherever you find and listen to your podcast. And by the way, if you want to send us those on Twitter too, I'd love to get those. But that won't enter you in the contest. It needs to be like on iTunes Review or wherever you get your podcast. All right, step 2. Also, include in your review your answer to this question. In episode 49 of TrekRanks, which was our countdown of top 5 courtroom showdowns, how many times did I play the dun-dun sound from Law & Order? You know the one. All right, I've added this step in here to make this more than just a blind luck contest. So if you listen to episode 49 and tell me how many times you hear that Law & Order sound effect, then at the very least, your odds are pretty greatly increased to win this contest. All right, and finally, step 3, you need to send me a link about where you left this review, and you need to do that on Twitter, because if you don't tell me on Twitter, trust me, I'm never going to see it. I'm not looking for that stuff. So the only way you're going to officially enter this is if I see that review. So link me on Twitter, and only 1 entry per person. All right, so if you do all of those things, you'll be entered in our 50 episodes of TrekRanks sweepstakes. And as the only other little qualifier to all that, I'll say that if more than 1 person gets the exact right answer on that Law & Order drop, then we'll draw lots on who's the grand prize winner. And yes, we're doing this worldwide. I'm going to send this package to whoever wins, no matter where they are in Sector 001. We're going to run this contest through the launch of episode 52 of TrekRanks, so the deadline to enter is the end of day on Stardate, March 21, 2019. And if you missed any of that, well, you can hit that 30-second rewind button, because this is not radio, people. It's podcasting. Just go backwards and you can listen to it again. And we can't wait to hear from you. And as a reminder, keep all your lists coming to me at TrekRanks so we can retweet them. But we also want to hear from you. So please put together your own list of top 5 ships and give us a call and tell us your list. You can call us at the Tricorder Transmissions at 609-512-5527. That's 609-512-LLAP. So hopefully we'll hear from you so you can be featured on the next episode of TrekRanks. And on the next episode of TrekRanks, well, you already know what that's going to be. It's going to be our part 2 of our top 5 ships. So what are we waiting for? Let's get into that right now. Char and Bill, you guys ready to jump into part 2?
Absolutely.
Let's do this.
All right. I want to close, as I do every week, by thanking everyone for engaging with us here on episode 50 of the TrekRanks podcast. As always, I'm looking forward to standing with you again here in this place where I belong.
The Defiant. Adrift but salvageable. Tough little ship.
little.
Hi there, thanks again for listening. If you're cruising the galaxy looking for even more Trek talk, why not visit our good friends Bill and Dan over at TrekGeeks.com? They've got a great podcast that covers a wide range of Star Trek topics, so you're sure to find something you'll love. And if you're in the mood for some awesome tunes, then you really need to head over to 5yearmission.net. The guys are writing a song for every episode of the original series, and each one is absolutely brilliant. So that's TrekGeeks.com and 5yearmission.net. Check them out today.
Officially, it's classified as an escort vessel. Unofficially, the Defiant's a warship. Nothing more, nothing less.
I thought Starfleet didn't believe in warships.
Desperate times breed desperate measures, Major. 5 years ago, Starfleet began exploring the possibility of building a new class of starship. This ship would have no families, no science labs, no luxuries of any kind. It was designed for one purpose only, to fight and defeat the Borg. The Defiant was the prototype, the first ship in what would have been a new Federation battle fleet.